Freezers and microwaves were still something of a novelty in the 1980s. People wouldn't think twice about it now. But back then, the idea of a ready meal straight from the freezer, bought in bulk from the likes of bee jams, shoved into the poppity ping, and ready to eat in minutes, was seen as cutting edge living. This new trend was a possible business opportunity to some, and so by the late 80s and early 90s, door to door hawkers with transit sized fridge lorries would turn up a few times a month in rural areas trying to flog their frosty wares onto aging housewives like my gran. A total waste of time in her case. The only freezer she had was the small compartment in the top of her ancient Calvinator fridge, just large enough for maybe a couple of Arctic rolls, or a bag of onion rings at least. Nevertheless, a persistent yam yam would call one Thursday a month to our rural bungalow, trying his best to convince her. It was during one of these visits in 1995 that, whilst attempting not to get nipped in the ankle by Topsy, the Yorkshire Terrier, this chap came across me. Gran was out, taking tea with the vicar or something, so his shouts led me to call him over to my yard. We got talking, and rather than selling me some Zoom lorries, he ended up leaving the property having purchased a 12-foot steel sectional garage. This little bargain I had been called to disassemble and remove a few days earlier. The deal was to deliver said item the next day to an address in Kidderminster, then return with a VW Passat GL5 for his mate, who would help me unload the garage and ride shotgun in the lorry's cab. The next day was a Friday. I loaded up the battered 4-day series in the morning, grabbed a bite of lunch, and then set off rattling and banging towards the West Midlands at 35 mph maximum. I was hoping to be back in the early evening, ready for a young farmer's disco. My friend Joe had gone off to Glastonbury that year to see Oasis and Blur play, but I was going to have to make the best of an evening in an old grain store, watching my mate Jason doing the shed dwellers dance whilst pissed out of his head. The late June scenery crawled past, and I duly found myself in a terrace street in Kidderminster. These houses didn't appear to have anywhere to put an excellent value steel sectional garage, but with lingering brummy vowels, the chap I was meeting directed me to untie, and we would carry the framework up the street in relays, this through to the back garden via a hidden entry. It was seriously tight, with the stress levels being added to by my 4-day series blocking the narrow thoroughfare and agitating the locals in their Datsuns. Next came the loading of the GL5, which was a non-runner, so my Ramsey winch was employed to drag it on board. By now, the Friday rush hour traffic was building as we started our return journey to the chap's mother's house. Where the VW had to be dropped was literally on the side of a hill. Not the most sprightly when loaded, well, or indeed empty. The York 4-cylinder lump lethargically dragged it into place. It was a right-angle shunt across the road and then backwards down a steep drive. The problem was the drop was just too great. The lorry wouldn't hold on the handbrake, and even in first gear, it turned the engine over while stopped, so I couldn't even get out of the cab. My customer was deployed to pull the ramps out and then climbed up into the Passat, so I could then slowly unwind the winch with the wander lead sitting in the cab seat. Now a ton lighter, and with a crisp £50 note in my pocket, the Ford and I were away for an evening of youthful exuberance. Hello there. Thank you for watching my video. If you've enjoyed this one, would like to see a few more, please like, share and subscribe. It is appreciated. It always helps out. You could also have a look at my merchandise channel, the address to which will be up on the screen now. All the best to you. Take care.